Red Bull has had an almost perfect start in 2023 with a car that's nearly a second faster than their nearest rivals. But despite this, the team seems to be falling apart, which was evident after the Australian Grand Prix. Red Bull entered the season with a lot of optimism, considering they had such a dominant 2022 season, winning 15 of 22 races last season, and claiming the title 4 races before the season was over. This meant that at the first race of the season in Bahrain, we saw both drivers competing at the top, with Verstappen taking pole position and Perez right behind him in P2, claiming a front row lockout. This was then followed by an extremely dominant win where Verstappen finished 12 seconds ahead of his teammate and 36 seconds ahead of nearest rival Alonso. While this looks like a perfect weekend, it was not all sunshine and rainbows. In free practice 1 and 2, Verstappen was complaining about his handling. The team had to work to fix these issues, which they managed to do successfully. Although in the Bahrain Grand Prix, Verstappen seemed to have a problem with his gearbox as he seemed to be losing stability and grip. This was apparent since he stopped gaining time on Perez when the issues presented themselves. Things would get worse in the second race of the season, which took place in Saudi Arabia. Red Bull seemed to have found their stride after the free practice sessions, but this would change really quickly after Verstappen had a driveshaft issue and was forced to retire and start 15th for Sunday. Fortunately for the team, Perez started on pole position after a comfortable qualifying session. Verstappen made his way up the field, and a couple of laps later, after a safety car restart, saw him with a 5-second gap behind Sergio Perez. This meant during the final laps of the race, Perez was instructed to do slower lap times than Max Verstappen. Perez was unhappy with this instruction, as he was suspicious about Verstappen being told to do laps 4/10 quicker than him. However, what stood out during the race was how Verstappen denied team orders to do the fastest lap on the final lap of the race. To summarize what occurred, Perez was told that he didn't need to push on the final lap as Verstappen wasn't meant to go for it either. Then, when the final lap came, Verstappen started going for the fastest lap. His engineer told him to abort the fastest lap attempt, but he received no response from the Dutch driver after the second attempt. Not only this, but it was also noted that Jos Verstappen, Max's father, didn't move to celebrate Perez's win. While this behavior is somewhat expected from him at this point, it goes to show the lack of sportsmanship and respect he has for others, and it shows how divided the team can be at times. The third race of the season was held in Australia, and it was clear that Red Bull was struggling. Perez had a miserable FP3 session, and followed that up by retiring from qualifying after locking it up into the gravel and getting stuck at the barriers, which saw him starting in last place. In the race, Verstappen had lockups into the final corners of the race, and he also had trouble warming up his tires. Despite this, he still comfortably led the field and won the race. Perez was able to finish in 5th place, but this didn't come without its problems. Red Bull has faced criticism for favoring Verstappen over Perez. This was particularly evident during that race, where Red Bull's strategy seemed to be focused on Verstappen. Sky Sports F1 commentators were heavily criticizing Red Bull for this, saying that they need to stop favoring their drivers and let them fight for the title equally. Although, rewinding back to the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix, maybe a title fight between the two won't end well. In that race, Verstappen was one position in front of Perez, who was just a few points in front of Leclerc for P2 in the standings. On the final lap, the team told him to let Perez pass for the extra 2 points, but Verstappen refused after being asked multiple times, leading to one of the most crazy fan outbursts of F1 history. This has most likely created huge tension between the two drivers, and in the case that they get into the title fight, it may not end well for the British team. For starters, the drivers will not be so clean when racing each other and can cause a lot of incidents like Hamilton and Rosberg in 2016. While this may not seem like such a big deal since they still have the fastest car, in the case it does end up a fierce rivalry, the team will turn into a very toxic working environment and make it a year to forget due to the constant battles. What we aren't realizing is that this is already happening. With the fastest lap incident, we can see how Verstappen is not willing to budge and is willing to risk everything just to get the edge on Perez. With both drivers having that mentality, we can already see issues forming up, but problems between their drivers aren't the only issues, as several sources have stated that the team at Red Bull are unhappy with the executives of the Red Bull brand, with apparent issues building up between the two. It seems that the F1 team have their own aspiration of winning championships, while the executives want to invest more on the brand instead of the actual performance. Regarding the team dynamic, many people have been critical about how Red Bull handles things, with Alan Prost stating in an interview that it's a system of favoring a single driver, Max Verstappen, which has worked so well, is showing its first signs of failures, which he said referring to the strong statements from Verstappen about his teammate at the beginning of the season. All these incidents, from reliability issues to team orders, have raised concerns about Red Bull's ability to keep everything together despite being so fast. It seems that while they might be strong in some areas, they are also facing weaknesses that could cost them later in the season. If you enjoyed what you saw, you can like the video and watch this other one about the F1 driver's insane salary. Catch you all in the next one. Peace.